Hey, Goddess. Welcome to this episode of the Hey Goddess podcast. I'm Angie Kay, and this is the beautiful Wendy Lou. And the topic of this episode is the spring 2025 equinox. So we're really excited to bring you this today. And just a quick little bit about us. Wendy is a writer, a published author, a professional editor, a copywriter, a Reiki Master, an all around energy magician. This woman is amazing. I couldn't imagine going on this path without her. I've had her for so long. And she's a homeschool mom. So if you want to find out more about Wendy Lou, please check out her website, wendy-lou.com. And of course, we'll link that in the description box on YouTube and on all the podcast platforms. And I am Angie Kay. I am the author of Creation Codes, Rise of the Goddess, Navigating Spiritual Awakening, and Kundalini Energy. If you're looking for an ascension guidebook full of compassion, personal trauma, and triumph, and tips on how to reclaim your goddess essence, this is it. You can grab it on Amazon, and we will link that below. I am also a goddess CEO, divine feminine embodiment activator, law of attraction coach, and master holographic sound activator. If you want to see more about me, you can go to angiek.world, and don't forget to grab your free gift on my website, and we will link that below in the description box.
We will
So
link it all.
we'll link it all. So we're really excited to dive into the Equinox 2025. So
Oh
much
my
is coming
goodness.
up. We've just been tuning in briefly for about 10 minutes, and already we're just like, we gotta get recording.
Flooding. Yeah,
Much is
flooding with it.
coming.
It's a lot of beautiful stuff.
Yeah. Right off the bat, we started tuning in, and I hadn't pulled a card, but it was weird because I was seeing cards. So we just asked the guides of the highest light and resonance to assist us, and I saw a chariot card. And so immediately I was thinking like forward movement. And Wendy said even moving homes or,
Literally, right?
locations,
Hmm.
you could even move to a completely different location. And I was getting chills everywhere around that. So I think that is something that's coming big for the springtime. So equinox goes, you were saying March 20th,
20th.
right?
Hmm.
Okay. Until, is it June 21st?
I believe so, yeah. I think it's usually the 21st. I know it's a Mandela for me because it messes with my mind because I just remember always it being the 21st and now it's kind of different. Like 2 years ago, something was the 19th and I'm like, what? What? It should be the 21st. But yes, so I think it takes us like through June 20th because then the 21st I think would be the official first day of summer. So yeah, so we've got this chunk of time that is going to be beautiful springtime renewed, right? The energy just automatically is new life springing up, renewal, refreshing of everything, blank slates, new path, new growth, new life, all of this kind of energy. So that's already there, that's already in place just by nature of when it is right on our calendar and on this planet and what's going on. Gaia is going to be coming to life.
Yeah. Exactly. It's funny because I think in the last episode that we did and I was editing, we talked about Persephone in the witch wound episode.
Yeah, well, yeah, we
So,
did.
and by the time we launch this, that might not even be live yet, by the way. So eventually check out the witch wound when it is live. So yeah, so that reminds me of the story of Persephone, right? When she, yeah, was
Hmm.
creating the seasons coming back up from the underworld. So anyway, it just
Right.
jogged my memory on doing the edits for that. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Those
so
are.
yes, thank you, Spring. I'm so ready. So,
Mhm.
so some of the other things that were coming up where you were getting perseverance and preservation, and they being
Hmm.
such similar words too.
Yes, and not even really like I don't know as far as definition. And then salvation, right, had come is popped in my head before I even pull. I did pull some cards and that preservation and perseverance was on the cards, but before that even I got salvation and I thought no, and you know how sometimes you get guidance and you're like no, 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 that can't be right. And it kept popping back in, so I'm like, all right, well, let's look this up. And so salvation, because I wanted to see the actual definition, right? Sometimes we need that clarity. And so salvation does mean being saved by something or someone, right? Like giving your power away to a savior, to an external force that will come and save you. And, even in religion, it's like saving your soul, right? Salvation is saving your soul. And so I feel like that message was with this renewal, rebirth, new growth energy. We are releasing that need for someone else to save us. And, we've been preaching it, from our soapbox for years. And I think anyone who's on this journey knows that that's what we're supposed to be doing, but we all have to work through the process on our own, right? Like so many of us have a savior complex where we feel like we have to save everybody. And so we have to work through that as well. And I still personally am working through that. But it's two sides of the same coin, right? It's like feeling like you are the savior and not necessarily even it is egoic for sure, but it's not like you feel better than everybody else. It's more like an obligation, right? Like we come in with that, like that's my job. I got to save everybody. I got to save as many people as I can. And that is part of which we don't have to talk about in this one, but that's part of the Atlantis atoning for Atlantis, right? Because we couldn't save anybody. So we come in, we're like, okay, we're going to do it right this time. We're just going to save everybody. Well, then you learn that it's such an inside job, such an internal job for everybody. The only person you can save is yourself. And so I do feel that this energy coming is really going to help us release. And if you think about it too, a big holiday is coming up that is all about salvation and, in the church especially. And so I think that energy it's being healed. It's being healed, that need for somebody else to come in and save us. And even looking at what's going on in the government. It's like, I know a lot of people on both sides, right? And it doesn't matter, but who see certain people as, oh, they're going to do this. And we just have to sit back and watch and reap the rewards and whatever. Always, always, always keep doing the work, right? Always keep doing the internal work. Because then we were pulling a lot of like union, divine, union
Mm-hmm.
within, and you pulled a
Yeah.
two, and I have sacred union, and that starts within, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I love where you were going with that. I just wanted to add what was coming to me when you were talking about the savior complex, because I think this is such a big thing for light workers. And I'm so glad we're talking about it. And I'm so glad
Hmm.
that it's coming to light in the spring. And like you said,
Hmm.
in alignment with Easter, all the things, right, that are
Right.
represented by that holiday. So I've always gotten, and I don't know if we've mentioned this on another episode, but I've been, and it's not, I shouldn't say always, I have been getting for a while that the shadow side, the shadow aspect of the Christ consciousness is the savior complex. And so it's
Yeah,
like
perfect.
when are, open to your light worker qualities and you're really embodying that Christ consciousness energy, which that's what so many of us came to anchor is that consciousness. And then the shadow element being, okay, I need to save everyone.
Hmm.
And that's just not true, right? The truth
Because
is
you
everyone
can't.
needs to save themselves. Yeah, you cannot save everyone. And that comes from an egoic place too. If you think
Hmm.
about the energy of needing to save someone and you really dive in and you say, well, why do I need this? It really comes down to a personal reason that you need to save this person. And it is not actually about the other person, is what's
Yeah, it's not
interesting.
actually
And
heart
that makes
center.
it egoic, right? So it's
Absolutely.
interesting. So this is something we've all, and you said it early on, like you said you were working on it. I know I've worked on it. It's a thing that comes up for light workers because we're all working the light and the shadow at the same time, right? Yes, light workers is a great word, but when you're a light worker, you're really working the shadow aspects of things, right? Within yourself.
Mm.
And something that came up big in the reading that I did for my blog was that there's been a huge group of light workers recently working on lack consciousness for the whole collective. And so there's
Mm.
been a huge uh, experience in that light worker community of lack because we were working on lack, not just for ourselves, it was for the entire collective
Hmm.
releasing and healing lack within ourselves. So so that has been a big thing. And then I was getting that there's a huge uptick in abundance, in financial abundance,
I was just going
especially
to say
for
that.
this group of light workers, if you're resonating with this, coming this spring because of the work that's been done. And then of course it's rippled out to everyone, right? Because this work around lack consciousness has been transmuted for everyone. It's just
Right.
that particular group of light workers experience it pretty drastically. So that
Yeah.
was interesting that that came through on there. So sometimes, yeah, the things that we're up to, are just happening naturally as part of an agreement that we've made on a soul level. And it's not like we have to seek out to save anyone on purpose, right?
Right,
The
right.
the agreement's already made, and so the energy is already moving in that direction. And I don't mean to
Mhm.
make it sound like you're a victim to the circumstance. You're not. You agreed on a soul level, like I'm going to come in and these are my contracts and these are the things I'm going to do. It's not a victimhood experience. It's really just like, okay, I agreed to do these things and so I'm taking care of them. And so it's not like you need to seek out to necessarily save anyone. Your agreements are already in place. Like the things
Mhm.
are already moving, the experiences that you're going to have and the people that you're going to come into contact with are going to be assisted just by your energy, just by your message. You
Yes,
don't
yes.
have to inherently save anyone. So that was the 2 cents that I wanted to add in and how I was relating
Yeah.
since I had just recorded that other reading yesterday. It was coming
And
through so
definitely, yeah.
strong. Yeah.
Definitely aligned. And
Hmm.
it's the same, it's definitely this energy coming in of really doubling down and kind of locking in that commitment to the journey of balancing the divine, the masculine and feminine within, right? Like I literally pulled the sacred union, which, of course we want to romanticize. I know not everybody can see it, but if you're on YouTube, you can see the card. But we romanticize it so much and it says partnership, romance, but really what's coming through for this time frame on planet Earth is really solidifying that not necessarily like we're not going to be perfectly balanced all the time. It's a daily process, but it's really solidifying that commitment to it. Okay, I'm going to be really balancing now. And so if you have found yourself in more and you're going to feel out of sorts when you're in too much feminine or too much masculine. And so it's about that, really tuning in and finding that balance within. And I've said this before too, it's not 50-50 if you don't know, if you kind of want a number rather than, and you'll be able to feel it, right? But if you generate your chart, like say if you have had your chart done, I know Cafe Astrology is a great free resource, and it'll print out this big long thing, and it'll give you a number between 1 and 10. And so you get like, for me, I got like a feminine is 7 and masculine is 3. And so I strive for that's my perfect balance is 70% feminine, 30% masculine. I tell you, I lived most of my life the complete opposite of that. Being in the military, having brothers, having sons, having in a lot of ways to be both parents for my kids, because I was the one there. And so it was a very masculine time for me. But that balancing, and it's such a perfect time too with the rebirth and renewal energy of, yeah, we're just going to kind of take a whole new look at it, right? It's going to be a whole new perspective of it, maybe, and more clarity around it. Like, oh, okay, I can, like, this is how I can, like, I was just talking to a friend this weekend who really wants to connect more with her feminine. She's become the breadwinner in the family and is in more masculine than she would like. And the simple answer, which can start you on the path, was wear some jewelry, like go buy something pretty for you. And I know that seems silly and superficial, but that will make her feel more feminine, which will open her up to that feminine energy. And so, we have these things, like we talk about this all the time. It's like, it's okay to want pretty things. It's okay to look pretty. It's okay to want to put makeup on and pretty clothes on. And, we have these things in this world, and why not enjoy them? Like, that's why we're here to enjoy this human experience. So, we're really going to be doubling down and committing to that journey of the balancing. And then that, right? Like, it's an inside job. We're going to say it a million times. It's an inside job. It has to begin inside first. And then you see the results externally as well happening in your life and in the world. And if you are longing for a partner, that inside journey has to begin first. Then you will call in, a divine partner.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And even like divine, business partners, anything, right? Anything that is super aligned. It
Yeah,
has to start inside. You have to find that balance inside. So,
it is. Yeah.
hmm.
And it's such a, I mean, really, it is a journey. I mean, when you share about your military experience and my corporate experience and how in the
Hmm.
masculine we both were, right? And
Hmm.
then being called to everything we were called to, not even knowing that we were called to the divine feminine at the time, right? Because it probably wasn't until 10 years ago that we even discovered
Yeah.
that's what was going on, right?
I'd
And
never heard the term,
I
right? We
hadn't
didn't even know the
either. And I
word.
was very much into all of this, is what's interesting, right? So I was into all, and I hadn't heard of the divine masculine, divine feminine, or divine union concept at all. And so, besides just our classic archetypes that we've been shown in religious figures and things like that, right?
Right.
But
Yep.
not the actual understanding of the journey of the rebalancing until I, was finally read the Queen's Code, was in the groups with you at the time. We read the Queen's Code, things like that, right? And then I started to understand that concept and loved it and realized that was the journey that I was on, right? Like that
Right.
I
Yep.
was always on the Kundalini awakening journey. And then, oh yeah, I'm on this. This is the path I'm on. I get it now, but it kind of came full circle for me. But I
Hmm.
really didn't know. And so, yeah, so that's so interesting about the divine union because then, of course, I wasn't immediately striving for divine union either within myself. I was like, oh, I want to be more feminine. Just like you said, I feel so masculine. And you and I have talked about this before. When we look at our pictures from years ago, we look entirely different. It's
Hmm.
like night and day, right? And even my
Yeah.
husband, when he hears my voice from years ago, he says, was that even you? What was
Yeah.
going on there? Right. And it doesn't even feel like it was me, right?
Right.
So
It doesn't
then
sound
I was
like it.
striving to be more feminine. And I think that's the journey so many people take is, they realize how, and I'm just going to say mostly women, right? This happens with women
Mm.
because our culture has masculinized women so much and I'm not saying that that isn't appropriate in some, like you said, like it's different for everyone.
Right.
So this might not apply to everyone that I'm speaking to right now. Okay. So Wendy said her set points would be 70% feminine, 30% masculine. I would resonate with that too. That's probably how mine is. And because the world at large, pushed and does push women, and this is okay and great for certain women, but not for all. And that's why I'm saying that one
Hmm.
size does not fit all in what I'm saying. Okay. If
Right.
you resonate, great, and resonate with Wendy and I's journey, great. Yours could be different. So I'm not trying to put everyone in a box here because that's the point, is everyone was being put
Right.
shoved in a box. Like all these
No,
women need
that's
to
why
realize
it's.
we're masculine and need to go and
Hmm.
act like men at work. And that's just women have some women, right, have different skills and abilities. And acting like a man just made me feel very masculine and not imbalanced in harmony with myself. And
Right.
for someone else, that could be different. It could be completely appropriate. But for
Yeah.
me, it
And
wasn't.
it pulled us
And
away from our
so
gifts, right?
yeah, I pulled me away from my gifts, and I very much consider myself on the priestess path, right? And so that
Mm.
pulled me away from all of that, and then it was a swinging into like I went into like 90% feminine, right? And so it was like I was like too far in, like it was almost like
Right.
too
Yes, I
much
did the same
emotion,
thing.
too
Yeah.
yeah, too deep into it, and but that's okay. That was how the rebalancing happened for me, just like any pendulum, right? Pendulums then swing far the other direction to bring you back into balance and harmony within yourself. So for
Hmm.
me, and you're right, it is a daily journey, but I think there is a bigger journey that happens where you
Hmm.
do come into a higher frequency experience of divine union within yourself. And I think
Yes.
that is a longer journey that so many of us are on and will continue to be on, right?
No,
And so that's
it's
for
a
me,
long game.
yeah, where I think what was coming up when we were originally tuning into this message was a lot of us that have been working those energies on this path, and you'll know if that's you, right? As we're speaking and sharing about it, are coming into a place of divine union within ourselves this spring. So that's
Hmm.
something that, and I'm even getting 2025 at large, right? So if for you it's maybe just a step in that direction this spring, in 2025 at large, there's a lot of people that are going to come into this frequency. Like it's like a frequency alignment. I almost see it like the Wheel of Fortune. Like it spins and it like
Hmm.
clicks into a certain frequency alignment. And that's that divine union within yourself, the set points that Wendy's talking about, and perfect harmony
Hmm.
and balance for you, right? So that's beautiful. And then, of course, that reflects in your life in different ways, that kind of harmony and union. And I think, I mean, for me, what I think about, and you and I were talking about this, so many of the things on the ascension path have been externalized to be something that
Hmm.
happens externally, but these are actually things that happen internally. So the divine union process has been externalized to be like, oh, I'm looking for this divine union externally. No, you're
Right.
looking for the
And
divine
then it will
union
heal. Then
within
it will
yourself.
heal.
Yeah, it's the
Right.
opposite. It's all the opposite.
Hmm.
And then if there is a certain external experience that you're calling in, then that can happen, right? But everything's on the internal side first. And so even when people talk about new earth, right? This is the realization that I really want to share with people right now is that the new earth experience, we're not building a new earth that already exists. What's happening is you're internally shifting your consciousness to where you can fully accept and see everything about the original earth experience. And once you can, then you can be reborn into the new
Hmm.
earth, which already exists. And this is all on a frequency
Yeah.
level. Okay.
Yep.
So this isn't like, oh, I'm going to seek out this new earth outside of myself, because you're not. It's not.
Mm-mm.
It's
There's nothing
it,
out
it
there.
is out
It's
there,
all
but
in here.
first
Yeah.
you
But
click
it's,
into
yeah,
that
right.
frequency internal.
Yeah.
So everything's internal first, then external. So I just that was what was coming through, and it's funny because we
Hmm.
only tuned in for like 10 minutes, but we did hit like real quick like all these topics, and
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that was
And
what I wanted to add.
okay, cool. Yes. And circling back to even the you look at all the terms that we use and sometimes we resonate with different ones. Sometimes we go back. Like light worker tends to be the blanket term. Starseed tends to be one of the blanket terms. But notice that not one of them is savior. Not, not one of them is, that anything like that. In fact, the first one that I think, there probably was more, but I know David Wilcock, talks about when he first discovered the whole concept of a light worker. It was in a book that was written in the 70s, and it literally had a quiz in it that he shares. That if you take the quiz and if you answer, a certain number of questions, yes, then you're a light worker. But the term they used was wanderer,
Mm,
which is like nomadic. Which Yeshua was definitely nomadic, but it's so not a rigid kind of, oh, go around and save people. It's just living your life, and it feels so free to think of it as a wanderer. It's like you're just living your life and helping others heal through example. And I always tell people they're either going to see your light and they're going to ask you how you did it and they're going to want to do it themselves, or they're going to not like you and they will avoid you, right? And so the people who don't like it are not your people. The people who want to learn from you and even just want to be around you because you exude that so that they can start doing it themselves, those are your people.
11,
But
11 here,
again,
like
not your
you're
job.
saying
Awesome.
as you're talking.
Not your job to do anything. Like I've been kind of on this soapbox lately. It's like if we did absolutely nothing but have fun in our lives and enjoy our lives and find ways to just really experience everything, we'd be doing our job because it's our
Mhm.
frequency alone. If you're resonating with any of the terms, light worker, way shower, wanderer, it's your frequency alone is doing the job. We get to just enjoy this human experience because for a lot of us, it's been a while. And for a lot of us, we've had a lot of incarnations that have been so tough, right? It's like now we get to figure out, hey, we are creating this. Why am I not creating more fun? Why am I not creating more joy, more abundance? And yeah, it's not an overnight, like instantaneous thing. It's a process because we've been so entrenched in this program and the patterns and just living out the human experience where life is supposed to be hard. You're born, you go to school, you work, you die, right? This whole programming where we're just worker bees, right? It's not true. None of it is true. It's an illusion and it's a story. And now we're breaking free of that. And this spring, just perfect symbolism with everything coming to life. Like Gaia is really supporting this energy too. It's like, okay, let's not just have a normal spring like we've been having for the last, for thousands of years. Let's really come in with a new exuberance and a new kind of energy for what we're going to be doing. And that's just, if you can get into an excitement about it, that is going to bring clarity, but it's also going to bring being able to let go of needing the clarity, right? Like we all we ever want, right, is to be able to see where we're going. Like I feel like that's kind of all anybody wants to know is what's coming, what's coming, what's coming, what's going to happen, what's next, right? And really what we want to know is it safe to take the step even when I can't see it? And so we want to feel safe in moving forward. And that chariot message is perfect too. It's like I really see, like I see almost with chariot races, right? But not competitively, but we're all just coming out the gate, like just sprinting because we're so excited for this new energy coming in and this new clarity, but at the same time, just feeling safe in moving and not needing to know 10 steps ahead or 100 steps ahead. Or if you are standing in front of a dense fog, but you feel safe to go in anyway, that's so much better than the fog not being there, really, because then it's still the mystery, the excitement. Oh, I don't know what's in there, but something is really calling me, and I feel safe because I know I am cherished and protected and safe always. And I know I'm creating this, and I'm going to create something fun, dang it. And so you can
Yeah.
step forward without seeing it really, but just feeling like, yeah, this is it. This is going to be great. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm just feeling so much good stuff, right, coming
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. And you really only ever have to see that one next right step in front of you. You don't
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
see all the steps.
No,
So,
yeah,
I mean, I think that is the old paradigm, right? Like thinking that you had to see every single step in front of you. But the new paradigm is really
absolutely.
being in the now, like you said, and creating the joy of the now moment. And just even if that is a dense fog, well,
Right.
what's the next right step you can take in this now moment? And then in the next now moment,
Mhm.
what is the next right step for that moment? And that's really
Right.
all that we can do. I love
And the
how,
problem was we wouldn't take a step at all, right? We wouldn't,
right.
if you couldn't see 10 steps ahead, you just stayed where you were and
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
even
yeah.
take the nine. Like, go,
Yeah. Like I can't see the
go
whole
already.
thing, so I just can't
Yeah.
move. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. I loved what you were saying, reminded me of how, and this is something my guides have told me for a long time too, but I recently saw an episode of Bashar because my husband's really into watching Bashar right now.
Mhm.
So, so he always has it up on the TV. So I saw an episode where he was talking about how he said, you know, we've given you the formula. We've given you the formula for ascension. All you have to do is do the thing that brings you the greatest excitement in this moment. And that raises your frequency. And as you do that over and over again, you remember exactly who you are. Because that's the point of ascension, right? Is then we ultimately
Mhm.
remember who we are, the most expanded version of who we are, right? So that's was interesting because there's something that my guides had shared with me years ago, and I it had stuck with me for a long time. And I think I shared it in Creation Codes, the book. And it was that choosing from your heart is how you then this is the way that they said it to me because you and I use the game analogy, right? How
Right,
you
right.
up level in the game is you
Hmm.
keep choosing from your heart. So you choose, so that would be your highest excitement, right? Because your heart is where desire comes from. That's how your soul
Hmm.
communicates with you. And so whatever your next highest desire is, if you choose from that place, you're constantly ascending in frequency. And that's, I mean,
Hmm.
it's so simple, right? But then and that's really like, you can be in a dense fog doing that. Like, oh,
Right. True.
what's
But
my
why?
greatest
Why would you
desire
choose
in this
that?
dense fog? You know,
Yeah.
like, I'm just going to choose
Why
that
would
now.
we? And it's so funny when you think of it from that perspective. Like, why on earth would we resist doing the things that bring us joy? It's because we've been so disconnected from our heart space that we
Mm-hmm.
don't even know anymore what brings us joy. And we got caught up in the have-tos of
Mm-hmm.
life and in this pattern and this hamster wheel of the how you're supposed to human, right? Like, oh, well, I got to do it the way my parents did it, and they did it the way their parents did it. We are breaking free of that now. The hamster wheel, we're not breaking it down. It does not exist. It never did. We created it, we created that illusion that it did, I think, just in a time of survival, right? And it got us here. So to be grateful, I think, is super important. Be grateful for what we have, where we've been, helps you move forward, helps you let go of all of it. But yeah, it's so much just surrendering to just okay, and Bashar even says, and I think I said this in the last video we did too, it's like every single human experience we have of resistance comes down to one form or another of lack of self-worth. Everything we don't feel we deserve to act from our hearts every day, and so we don't.
Yeah.
And so really digging down and trying to find out what, not even trying to find out, but releasing everything that is in the way of you having that beautiful unconditional love and self-worth for yourself is the journey. because then you can start to choose those things that bring you joy. And a lot of times for a lot, and this is coming through for maybe just a few people, but a lot of times the things that will bring you joy are the things that scare you the most. That you've had in your brain for your whole life or decades that you wanted to do, but they terrify you, but you can't let go of it. Maybe that is where your greatest joy lies. And the reason you haven't gone toward it yet is because you're so tied to the old system, the old way of doing things, and tied to people who maybe are no longer really good for you, no longer serving you, no longer, they're holding you back. Everything that you are sitting in right now is holding you there, but you're allowing it. And so letting go of that, and like I had said in a reading that I did on my YouTube channel, it's like baby steps are allowed. Baby steps are always allowed on this journey,
I
always. You don't
watched
have to
that.
make
Yeah, it
giant
was
leaps. You
great.
don't have to make
Yeah.
giant leaps every time.
Mhm.
I love the giant leaps. I used to hate them. Love them now. I absolutely love them. Like, yeah, let's just quantum right to the next level. But it's okay to go slow through this process. But it's really just about telling yourself that you deserve to follow your passion. And even if it is kind of scary because it means you're letting go of something, really look at what you're holding on to and why. If you're holding on to somebody because of them, that's the wrong reason. That's the wrong reason to hold on to something. And again, it's all stories we tell ourselves to survive in the moment. And they're important and they're valid and they're legitimate, right? Like I don't want to like minimize what anybody's going through. I've totally been there. I tell myself stories all the time. It's how we get to the next place, right?
Mhm.
I think it's how we move the chariot
Yeah.
forward, is
Yeah.
telling the stories and then realizing, wait, that's not true for me anymore. And then
Yeah.
it's okay to tell yourself a new story as long as it's moving you forward. So
Absolutely.
I think we're going to be forced to really look at that. Okay, where am I just sitting? Where am I sitting here? And if you're
In
seeing like things
places.
falling apart, like I feel like this winter, right? We're supposed to be kind of dormant. We're supposed to be hibernating. But it can feel stagnant, which is kind of the negative perspective of that. But it really is asking us to sit in that stillness and look at what is still serving you and what you want to let go of. What are you ready to take a leap? Are you brave enough to take a step into the fog, right? Because I think when you do first start to move and first really start along this journey, it can be very unclear and scary. And that courage is so important. It's like, I feel like the whole spring time frame is the Fool card. It's like if we were to pull one card for it
Yeah.
from the tarot, it's the Fool. It's like take that leap or take that small step even toward this in this direction, and people are going to look at you and tell you you're crazy and tell you you're stupid. And that's almost a testament to I'm going the right way. Almost. I'm not going to say every time. And sometimes when like the people who are your biggest, let's say energy vampires or biggest judgers or biggest whatever, really don't want to let you go, if they look at you and go, why would you do that? That's stupid. That's crazy, blah, blah. Maybe that's a sign that you're making the right decision. But that's not going to be for everybody. But yeah, really, we're really going to be looking at and we try to stress too. We both try to stress always like really don't worry about doing anything. You're going to be presented with this opportunity, with this energy, and you get to decide which way you're going to go. You get to either seize the opportunity or you cannot. And you'll still move forward and you might get the piano dropped on your head, but you're still going to move forward. And then you'll get we always say it comes back around, right? If something is meant for you and you're not quite ready and you say, not yet, and you stay, it's going to come back around. But I urge everyone to really embrace this energy that's coming through because it's going to be so forward moving and transformative. And yes, it's going to be scary, but we're all going to be doing it. Like we're all doing it at the same time. So let's just hold hands and jump off that cliff and just make it happen for Gaia, for the planet. I'm very excited about it because I feel like we have surpassed like that 100th monkey kind of, concept where, okay, this is happening. We're on the highest timeline and we always are, right? In our highest good, right? But that doesn't always look good. We are on this beautiful timeline now. There's no turning back, but we're still in a transition phase and we still have to really seize without seeking, right? But because Angie and I let go of the seeker a while ago, right? We talked about that.
Mhm.
We're like, well, you have to let go of that energy of trying to figure everything out and trying to find your adventure. Let the adventure come to you.
Yeah, life will teach
And it's
you.
coming.
Yeah,
Yeah, life will teach you.
that's
And you
my
only
favorite.
have to help other people in the way of living your beautiful life by example. Show them that it can be done.
Yeah, love it. So powerful. Yeah.
Thank you for coming to my
You
TED
said
Talk today.
you said a lot there that I loved.
I'm sorry.
And I'm
That just
thinking,
came through.
wait, how do I add to this? It was so brilliant.
Oh, we were talking about,
But
what was the other word we were talking about that you had said the word.
it was
Pre-
you were talking a
Preservation,
little bit about the
perseverance.
chariot again and the movement.
Yes, yeah.
And
It's going to be
yeah,
so, yeah. I just see a lot of dust being kicked up, right? It's like it's,
yeah. It's like, here we go.
ooh,
Ready or
it's like
not. That's what's coming to me. Ready or not. Here
yeah,
we
ready or not.
go.
On your mark, get
Yeah.
set.
And too, like the resistance might come up because, there might be pieces like you were saying. I know a couple of things that I was thinking while you were talking. Um, first of all, I want to talk about the fact that the unworthiness that people have experienced on this planet really has come from institutions, first of all, right? Some of our
Hmm.
most
Hmm.
major institutions have, made us feel unworthy. And some of those are religious, by the way.
Not
And
all, but
right.
some. Yeah.
And two, advertisers. And I wrote about this and got a CEO because I really do want to help spiritual entrepreneurs to it's almost like doing business. I shouldn't say almost, it's doing business in the 5D. This is a completely new era. This is a breakthrough experience. How do we do business in this completely new level of consciousness, right? And so in Got a CEO, I talk about the old style of marketing and how we speak from a place of lack. Like, oh, you don't have this. And so you really should
Mm,
have this. Oh, yeah, poor
right.
you, right? Oh, your hair is not soft enough or whatever, right? However,
And it's
advertisers
psychological, right? It's
pulled,
intentional.
yes, pulled on our psychology of lack and even enhanced it by making us
Hmm.
feel more and more lack. And so it's like once you see this, you can't unsee it, right? And I talk about it in a
Right.
whole section
Just
of
right.
Got a CEO, which, is going back to you for editing, back to
Hmm.
Wendy. Wendy's the
Which you
editor
could almost write a whole book on that alone, right?
on
On
that
that
topic
psychology.
alone, right? So I'm sharing the ways that we can get our message out that is, to me, not coming from a place of lack or scarcity, right? Consciousness. So that was the one thing I
Hmm.
thought of. And I think that, our institutions, religious institutions being one of those places that have perpetuated this lack mentality, right? The not good enough. There's something more you need to do. You and I were talking about you need to drink some really bad wine and eat this little wafer.
Yeah,
And then maybe you can be good
and
enough
that'll make your life better. Yeah.
just this week. But we need you to come back and do it again next week because we're not sure.
Yeah,
So,
because you're human and you're flawed and you never,
right.
yeah.
That's it, right? You're not good enough. So,
Yeah, knock you right back down. Yeah,
right. So it made me think of that. And then, the advertiser component of Got a CEO.
absolutely.
So
And
I,
that's shifting too, because even like as you know too, I shared, my copywriter coach, and you've been taking his course too, is like I have watched him shift from when I took his course into this world, and he is now like, I don't even want to work for anybody who isn't like for the greater good, who isn't really, and he's let go of all of that old kind of manipulative marketing. He doesn't even want to write it. He doesn't want to work for anybody who wants it. Like even the little taglines like, oh, if you don't want your family to be healthy, then don't, but right? Those little
yeah,
things like digs. And it's like, okay, so many of us we've transcended that being affected by that psychology now. And so now when I see that, I just go, no, I'm not even reading on,
good.
you know, and I don't even care if the product is good. I'm sorry. It taints it for me because
Yeah.
there's something else out there that'll be better. But yeah, so we're letting go of a lot of that. The whole industry is going to shift, hopefully. I mean, I see it happening, but
Yeah.
it's for us to stop feeding it first, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we're the way showers, right? So we're the ones that go forward and
For better or for worse.
it's like I always see us like walking through a thick jungle with these giant
The
swords, right? Like
machetes.
cutting down
Machetes.
machetes. Thank you.
We totally
Cutting
are.
down
We're the
all this
jungle
old
guides.
conditioning. That's like, what
Oh,
was this? Whoever made this up? And we're
who
just cutting
did
it down
this?
and then we're sharing an elevated perspective constantly. So,
Yeah.
if you resonate with that, of course, you're also a way shower. And if you're on this podcast, I'm sure that
Mhm.
recognize that you are one. So I pulled, while you were talking too, I pulled fairy wishing well, manifestation, expectations, and offerings. So for
Mm.
those of you on YouTube, you can see it. If you're not on YouTube, or if you're on
Okay.
the podcast, you could go over to YouTube and check it out later, the card. So yeah, so that was just really beautiful. And I love how she has these stacked up coins right here. So that kind of
Yeah.
reminds me of the message around abundance that I was getting around those of us that have been, participating in moving the collective out of this lack and scarcity mentality and consciousness that, with this big clearing that we've done, and I was getting for about 2 years has been going on. You and I have been talking about it
Mhm.
for a couple of years, how
Yeah.
much we've heard other light workers talking about it and how the light worker community seems to have been the most affected by that
Mhm.
particular clearing and healing.
Right.
And so yeah, so I love that because it's like expect the abundance again
Mhm.
and the reward for assisting everyone in that, whether you knew you were doing it or not, it was for
Yeah.
the greater good. And so this is great that we can now, I feel like, reap the reward of the abundance
Absolutely.
that's on the other side of that. So that's what, yeah, that's what she reminds me of. And yeah, I love
Beautiful,
that.
yeah. And
Yeah.
fairies were coming strong for me this weekend too. So yeah, and even personally, I think you would even agree with this. It's like even you and I personally have the last 2 years, our financial situations have, really been through the ringer, and now we're kind of coming out in a much better place.
Yeah.
Like I've never felt more secure, and I desire more, but at the same time, I'm enjoying exactly where I'm at right now for the
Yeah.
first time maybe ever in my life. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so it
Yeah.
was beautiful.
It was bizarre. It was like, because I had built up so many, and I talk about this in the book too, in Goddess CEO. I built up so many because I believe in multiple income streams, right? And so I had built up
Yeah, we've
and
talked
they
about that. Yeah,
all changed. And
absolutely.
so but it was interesting. And when you're going through it, it's always, shifting every little bit of your consciousness that could be in lack or scarcity in the little corners of the closet, right? Where you
Hmm.
don't know, oh my gosh, I still have this little belief over here or this little traumatic
Yeah.
experience. Like, wow,
And this old dusty box, dang
yeah,
it.
yeah, this box, I saved, right? So it's like it was powerful. And that's how, and Wendy, that's how book writing is. Whatever it is that you're writing about, whatever transmission you bring through, you are going through the healing in that closet of whatever box, whatever dust bunny, whatever little thing exists that
Right.
is in direct opposition to the message you're sharing. And that is part of like stepping into the integrity of the message for the messenger,
Hmm.
as you know.
Hmm.
And so it's a powerful experience. So, of course, I had to live this message while I was writing it. And part of that was being part of this group of light workers that went through a huge shift in business around having a spiritual
Hmm.
business, right? What that looks like around income streams, around receiving money, and what that looks like. So, it was a powerful, powerful experience that really triggered me into writing the book because it was time, because I had a huge volume of evidence of this consciousness and how it had impacted my life so profoundly and created such a great shift in my wealth that I wanted
Hmm.
to share it. And then any other little last odds and ends had to be cleaned up for me, which is so
Yeah.
powerful. So yeah, the transmission is really powerful in that one. And then of course, like I said,
Yeah.
I ended up reading it 4 times this week for the editing process and then going through a huge shift in
And
frequency.
going, right, yes. And
Yeah.
then
So I've been through an
experiencing the
adjustment
codes
this
and the,
weekend of frequency. Yeah, which is great. But it was
right,
two two
right.
two as we're recording this, getting ready for the equinox. So
It was 222 just 2 days ago. And we're still, I feel like, the portal, they always say the portal's like it opened on 2/2
mhm.
and then closing on 2/2/2, but it takes about 2, 3 days to really fully close. And so we're still kind of, it's still like a sliver. I see a sliver. And so we're still kind of wrapping up that energy. And so if you had a tough weekend, you're not alone because it was a lot. And it was a lot of definitely a lot of emotional purging and just really growth in and they keep showing me like washing off the diamond, right? We're really finding that diamond deep within and we're washing all the dirt off of it. And that's the point. It's not about building the diamond or or finding it, it's uncovering it. It's getting all the muck off of it. You've always been the diamond. You've never not been the diamond. You just put a whole bunch of crap on top of it, and that's what we're letting go of because it's
Mhm.
all just stories.
Yep. Or we believed the crap that people put on our diamond and let it stay there.
Exactly. Right.
And we
Yeah, we
did not
believed their
need
stories,
to,
right?
but we
Yeah,
believed it. Their
we
weird
definitely
projections on
adopt.
our diamond.
Absolutely. We'll claim other people's stories every day. On
Yeah.
the daily. And yeah, so it's letting go of all that too. And so many of us have stories from our parents, right? Like because I feel like, and if you're Gen X, there are overlappers for you. Don't have to be Gen X, but if you feel like you're like a transition person for your family, like you're really shifting the family, the energy of the family, and like what has been expected of you, and as in that family, then that's huge. And so for us, we're doing it so much different than our parents did versus they kind of did the same thing their parents did, and on back and back and back, and they they went with the times as far as technology and the way the job markets flowed and everything, but at the same time they were living their lives exactly the same way, and we are breaking that apart, right? We're letting go of all that story and creating our own.
Yeah. We're the new paradigm.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm a millennial Gen X
There you
plus.
go.
I'm
Yeah.
a little more in Gen X than millennial, but I definitely resonate with millennial. And I think there's like a 3-year cusp on either side, right?
Hmm.
Of both of the generations. Yeah. So
Right. Yeah.
I'm a couple years um it would be past millennial or whatever, but I definitely
Yeah.
resonate with
And you
millennial.
see different dates and everywhere you look, but
Yeah.
it's essentially it's the yeah, that's why it's not a hard and
Yeah.
fast, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not specific dates, but
Yeah.
definitely. And there could be even, I definitely know some beautiful young, very young millennials and even old Gen Zers, onesie twosies, but they exist, right? That are kind of in our bubble.
Yeah.
And so yeah, and that's tough for them too. There's a lot of isolation and breaking free of kind of the generational beliefs too, right? Like, oh, this is who I'm supposed to be because I'm in this generation. Let go of that too,
And they're not resonating. Yeah, that makes sense.
right?
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
definitely feel think I've benefited from being a cusper, to be honest, because I really
Hmm.
do relate well with Gen Xers, absolutely. And then I feel like I relate really well with millennials. So I don't know, somehow that benefited my journey to be
Yeah, yeah,
in kind of both. It's a pretty big span. So yeah.
yeah.
So, okay, is there anything else that you feel like we need to that hasn't been stated that we need to say about 2025?
Well, the first card that I had pulled, and for those of you on YouTube, I'll show it, but it is the Ice Queen. And so this is what's melting, right? Like we're melting away,
Mm,
like we've been in this kind of stillness, this non-action. It actually says ideas preserved, non-action, entitlement. And so that's a big ego, release too. And I think I do feel that we've been in this kind of frozen tundra. And then the next one was the Sacred Union one. So it's like, okay, as we're balancing, as we're melting, as we're coming out of the ice, as we're coming into that energy of spring, of new birth, of rebirth, of just a new perspective on your path, you're going to notice that there's more focus within you on that balance. Like, okay, well, how can I feel? I want to feel feminine today. How can I do that? Well, put on something lacy and feel whatever makes you feel feminine, right? Or watch a certain movie or listen to certain music, right? And then the last card, just to share them all, because I pulled them at the beginning, was this rainbow prince. And for those of you on YouTube, you can see this beautiful artwork. It's this beautiful
gorgeous.
prince
Love
figure,
the
like
mirror.
literally, yeah, and it's a mirror, right?
Hmm.
Creating this flame, this rainbow flame, which is rainbows always come through for me as a promise, a cosmic promise that everything really is flowing into our highest good, and we're on the highest timeline, and we're meant to experience more joy and abundance than the other things in this life. And we have kind of flipped the coin the last, I don't know, 100 years, 1,000 years. I don't know how long. I'm not gonna say, but for a long time we've been living the inverse of that, and it's time to flip that back over and really, really allow the joy. And we were caught in this. We're not worthy of it,
Yeah.
and we are. And so now we're coming into that. Gaia's going to show us that with all the new flowers and the grass and the trees and the warmer weather,
Hmm.
that we are in fact worthy of beautiful things. And so the rainbow's coming through, and he's got wings, like he's an angelic
Yeah.
figure, and I love that. And so he's bringing through this. It's not only a beautiful divine masculine, feel to it, but he's reminding us of that promise that we are meant to be happy here, and it's
Yeah.
okay to choose that every day. Choose that from your heart every day. So that
Love
would be
it.
my wrap up. I think that's our
Gorgeous.
main theme for One is really allowing yourself to do the things that make you happy and
Yeah.
know that everyone else is going to benefit as well.
Yep.
Even if
And
it
it's a
shifts
choice.
them in what is perceived, you may perceive it as hurting someone, right? But it's really, if it's really truly in your heart and you have to do it, then it's for their good too.
Yeah. And both, I think, Abraham and Bashar both say that,
Good,
in
yeah.
their channelings that, yes,
Mm,
it might sound selfish what we're telling you to do. You might say, yes, that's selfish, but inherently that choosing from that higher place of desire from soul, right? From your heart, ultimately helps everyone, whether
absolutely.
it appears that way or not in the moment, it ultimately helps everyone. So yeah, I love it. Love it
Yeah,
so
and
much. That's
we're
awesome.
choosing to let go of the savior, right? The savior is what
Yeah.
keeps us in that energy of, oh, I have to be selfless.
Yeah.
There's a difference between service to others and selflessness, right? Like
Yeah.
it's detrimental to
And
both.
truly, like it is egoic for us to think, or for anyone to think that we know what's right for someone else's path.
Mm-hmm.
And truly the savior complex, you're saying, well, if someone is coming from a savior complex, that they know it's right over what the other person, we don't know what
Right.
their higher self is telling them, right? We
Exactly.
don't know what
Or
they're
that they
being guided
need,
to or
or
their
that they
heart.
need, absolutely. And or that they need us
Yeah,
to do something for them, right? Like
exactly.
that's just holding both
Exactly.
of you back. It's ultimately they're going to have to take their own stuff back and heal it and, look at it and confront it and figure out how to do it their own way. And you're just delaying that ultimately, right? I mean, it's all divine timing, but once we know what we're doing, then we learn and we move forward. And so it's all part of that savior complex that we're releasing too. Let that go. You're not here to save anybody but you, and that's not selfish. It's going to be in everyone's highest good because then they will be made to learn how to create their own reality too, instead of relying on someone to save them all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I love how you said earlier, be the example. Just be the
Hmm.
living example of someone that lives
Be
from
you.
their heart, that is
Just
choosing
go,
from their desires.
just go
Mm,
find that
yeah.
happiness. And it could very well be it's a process of unsticking yourself from where you have planted yourself that is just not letting you grow.
Yeah. It could be
Could be
like
a whole new
a
adventure.
desert. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a whole new, yeah, you have been a
Come to
desert
the
rose, but
garden.
you're not reblooming, right? Like
Right?
time to be, yeah,
Yeah.
time to go on an adventure maybe. Like that chariot, for a lot of people, it's going to resonate
The
as a literal message. Like
adventure.
go.
I resonate with that a lot. Thank you. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go on an
Yeah,
adventure.
definitely. I think that's a great place to. I think we covered it all. I feel it just feels so beautiful and I'm so excited for everybody and I can't wait to see how it unfolds for everyone. And I, during this time, am going to be choosing from my heart every day and
Yeah.
moving that way.
Yes. Same. Same. Please like, share, subscribe, whatever platform you're on,
Follow,
do the
download.
things.
Yeah, yeah.
Check the description box if you want to find out
Oh,
more.
yes.
If you want to join us over in the Goddess Society, that is linked below. You can check that out.
Both of the services we provide, we do very different things.
And you can check out Wendy's Akashic readings and other services below in the description box. Bye, Goddess. See you on the next episode.